Hello, everybody, and welcome to Be or Not to Be. Oh my god. I don't know how this is going to look on the video on YouTube because I don't know. I don't know how this will work. I'm going to have to do some editing. But, that's the thing with editing. The editor will figure that out. Anyway, To Be or Not to Be, it is kind of a Hamlet, I believe-esque. I read it, I don't remember. I believe it's Hamlet. I'm pretty sure it's Hamlet. My English teacher would not be proud. Hamlet, choosable path adventure. You can either be Hamlet Jr. or Ophelia. So yeah, here we go. The introduction. William Shakespeare, 1564 AD, whenever he died, was well known for borrowing from existence literature when writing his plays. Romeo and Juliet, for example, is pretty much lifted entirely from Arthur Brooks' poem, The Tragical History of Romeus and Juliet. Dude didn't even change his names. And, as a recent Shakespeare scholarship has established, shouldn't be scholar, the famed play William Shakespeare Presents Hamlet was lifted wholesale from the volume you were about to enjoy, To Be or Not to Be. To Be or Not to Be is both the earliest recorded example of the books as game genre, as well as the first instance ever in the newish English language that was kicking around of an adventure being chosen by you, the reader. We've gone ahead and added illustrations. Plus, we've taken the liberty of marking with tiny Yorick skulls the choices Shakespeare himself made when he plagiarized his book back in olden times. They look like this. Ooh. There, in case you wish to put yourself in Shakespeare's shoes, reading this book as he did, stealing plot elements wholesale, and classing up the language as he/you/went/go. However, this is not the only way to read the book. Feel free to explore your other options, as each time you read this book, you can go on a different adventure, assuming you don't read the book 3 numbers times, at which point the adventure will start to repeat, and they'll probably seem pretty familiar long before they... Anyway. Now take yourself back to history, when ghosts walked the earth, and nobody knew velociraptors were even a thing. Steel yourself to experience the magic of Shakespeare, as it was meant to be experienced, in a non-deterministic narrative structure where you end up thinking maybe you made a wrong decision. So you mark the pages you were just on so you can always go back and make a different choice if you die for some stupid reason. To be or not to be, that is the adventure. Okay, so first, let's choose our character. Let us do this. You've just been born. Congratulations. Good work on that thing. Now surprise, babies are boring. So we're just going to jump ahead in time to a point where you've already an adult and you've already lived a bunch of your life. But I promise most of what we're skipping over was really dull. So you ate a lot and slept a lot and made some friends, tears were shed, makeups were totally had, etc. It was a bunch of high school stuff. The awesome stuff really starts now. So let's begin, my friend. Remind me who you are again? Are you... So, we can be either Ophelia, Hamlet, or Hamlet Sr. So, who should we choose? Obviously, Hamlet is chosen by Shakespeare. I played this once before when I chose Hamlet Sr., so I'm going to play as Ophelia. Ooh, to be she. Ooh, choose to play as Ophelia. Right, you are Ophelia. You are a beautiful and independent young woman, and although it makes you roll your eyes when you think about it, you fall in love with a prince. Prince Hamlet is funny and charming, and he seems to like you a lot. You try not to get too excited about it, because you're worried you might jinx it, but things are really going great. Only it's been hard doing the long-distance thing where you've both been off at university. And while you've loved studying capital as science, and you're sure Hamlet's loved studying capital you undeclared, it hasn't been easy. Now that you're both back together in Denmark for his father's funeral, for his father's funeral and his mother's second wedding, which is weird, it's been harder still. Hamlet's really sad, and you can't blame him for that since his dad is dead. But you wish there was something you could do to help him. When you last saw him, Hamlet mentioned how the castle seemed cold and drafty, and for some reason stuck with you. You've been sitting at your desk, trying to think of something you can give him that would help him with that. A way of cheering him up a little. Remind him he's still got people who care about him. He wears these cloaks all the time, but then he's taking them off in warm rooms and putting them back on in cold ones. If only there was some way you could keep the rooms at a uniform temperature, he wouldn't need to be constantly adjusting his clothes throughout the day. But to do that, you'll need some way of measuring heat and a way of transporting it through the castle, perhaps through a series of pipes. Your thoughts are interrupted by a knock at your door. Who? I don't know. How should I do this? Who is it? You call. It's me, says your brother. Come on, let me in. Should we let him in? Or tell him you're busy? Let us. I like that. The skull has a bow tie on it. Not a bow tie, word. You know what it is. Let him in or tell him we're busy. Well, I think, I mean, we should let him in because he's our brother. But at the same time, we are kind of busy trying to help out Hamlet. Let's tell him we're busy. I'm busy, you shout through the door to Laertes. I'm leaving for France soon, he shouts back. Don't you want to say goodbye? Apparently not, you shout in reply. Whatever, Laertes yells. He storms off, stomping all the way. You sit in silence for a moment. He stomps back. Say bye to Dad for me, okay? He shouts. Okay, I will, you yell through the door. He storms off again, to France, I guess. Brothers, am I right? Return to your work. Okay, let's return to our work. At your desk, you continue your work on the problem of automatically heating the castle. Hours turn into days, and you're generally left alone by both your family and your boyfriend. Your father ignoring you is no big deal, and while you're a little worried about Hamlet not stopping more often, he has asked you to leave him alone for a while he mourns, and you're respecting his wishes. Because you're being a good gal. You want to give him a little bit of space on that. But if you're gonna be honest with yourself, you've also just gotten really absorbed in this one problem about heating. You decided to split the problem into sections, delivering heat and knowing when to deliver heat. It would be possible to put servants in every room and have them report when it's too cold, but that's both expensive and unreliable. It depends on the servant, the warmth of their clothes, how much they love to lie to people about what temperature the skin is sensing, and so on. You're wandering the castle grounds when it hits you. You've been thinking about how water expands when it freezes and how that could be used to tell you when it's cold, but it's not much use for measuring temperatures outside the freezing point. Your father, Polynesius, happens to wander by, talking to himself about the evils of drink, and you realize alcohol. The right alcohol would expand linearly with heat, and by putting in a slender glass vial, you can measure the size of that liquid, which would correspond 1-to-1 with temperature. But the same markings on each of these glass vials, the same temperatures, and you got a universal, comparable, and consistent ways of measuring heat. You wouldn't have to rely on a servant's impression. They could just tell you what line the alcohol has reached. You run back to your room to start working on the prototype. Just as you complete it, you hear a knock at your door again. Who is it? You call. And oh my, who should answer from the other side of the door? Seriously, who should answer from the other side of the door? Your boyfriend Hamlet? Your father Polynesius? Or your best friend? I think it's... Okay, who should answer? Hamlet. He wouldn't be impressed. Your father would be, confused because I'm working on this. Best friend? I don't really know. I'm going to go with my boyfriend Hamlet. Mind control. Control of reality using Ophelia's thoughts. Why does that guy have a sword with him? Doesn't matter. You decide you want Hamlet to be on the other side of that door. Open it, and Hamlet is really at the door. That's so freaky. How would you do that? Hamlet steps into your room. You haven't seen each other for a while. It's so great to see him. You run up and throw your arms around him, and you kiss. It's just like old times. But the moment passes, and when you look at his face, you can see concern written all over it. He's troubled by something. Ask him what's troubling him. You ask him what's wrong, and, well, there's no other way to put this, so I'll give it to you straight. Hamlet tells you about a spooky ghost and a plan for murdering his stepfather, Claudius, pretender to the throne. I'll be frank, it sounds crazy. A ghost? Murder? But he is your friend, a lover, and you're not going to leave him hanging out to dry. As gently as you can, you tell him you're pretty sure ghosts don't exist. But even if they do, he needs to be certain that that the ghost he saw was actually the ghost of his father. What if it was some other ghost trying to mess things up? That seems to give him a pause. Hamlet admits he never actually asked the ghost for information, only his dad would know. It's possible the ghost could be an imposter. I'll come with you tonight, sweetie, you say. We'll go together, and if a ghost shows up, we'll figure out what to do. You're confident no ghost will appear, and that this will all just go away. You take his hand and squeeze. Hamlet looks up at you, and you could see his relief. Okay, he says, smiling. What now? Go to see that ghost that evening. Bum, 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 bum. Imagine it's like a rave or something. Evening comes, and Hamlet leads you to the spot outside where he first saw the ghost. Oh, wait, hold on. This person. We have to wait till around midnight, he says. I think that's when he normally shows up. To pass the time, you play a storytelling game you enjoy, where you say one word of a story and he says the next word. And neither of you know where the story will go. Once, you begin. Upon, he says. You say. Oh my, I'm just going to go quickly. Once upon a time, there was a beautiful, looking at you, you smile. Prince, you reply, and he smiles back. Who wanted to kiss, his girlfriend. That's 2 words. That's cheating, you say, and then you're kissing. Oh, how romantic. Wherefore, make out for a while, or don't make out, because, and you can't believe this, you're thinking this, but what if a ghost catches you making out? Let's make out for a while. Let's do it. Bump, bump, bump. You make out for a while, what turns out to be quite a while, as the night is warm and the stars are stunning, and there are no bugs here to bite and any exposed flesh. And before you know it, you've totally made out as much as it's possible to totally make out. Nice. And you fall asleep in each other's arms. If ghosts exist, and if one really did show up, he certainly had the good grace to leave you alone for your makeouts. Also, he was probably embarrassed. You were both way naked. The 2 of you return to the same spot the next evening, and then evenings after that. It becomes more and more a date night, and less a specter from beyond the grave once it gets a murders done thing. King Claudius and Polynesius are not exactly thrilled with the 2 of you being together, but on the flip side, any urges to commit regicide that were floating around have begun to fade too. Though you talk about it often, the whole encounter with the ghost, if it really did happen, takes on the quality of a dream. Rather than do the long-distance thing again, you decide to move in together and get your own place here in Denmark. Together, the 2 of you work on finalizing the invention of the alcohol thermometer, and it works. And even figured out the other half of it, a way to move heated air throughout a building. Congratulations, you invented central heating. It's an invention that all of Denmark wants, and most are willing to pay for. While it's not the largest, you do live in the most comfortable state in the entire country. Thanks to the heating money, of course. One bright summer day, as the 2 of you walk through the castle garden, you get down on one knee and say, Sweetie, you're the most important person in my life, and I can't imagine ever living without you. I want to make you as happy as you make me every single day. Let's get married. You mean every word. It's not the most traditional proposal in the world, nor is it the most traditional wedding, but it's wonderful and perfect. And beautiful, of course. You're very happy. You don't invite Claudius to the wedding because, a few years later, Claudius falls ill with some sort of lung disease, and his doctors are unable to treat it effectively. He passes away only a few months later, having never produced an heir. Shortly after, the 2 of you become the new king and queen of all of Denmark. Your first child, Alex, is born 5 months later, and you all live very happily ever after. The end. Oh my god, they're making out in an alcohol thermometer. Ba-da-da-da. We did it. Well, we got some artwork. You need under extras on the pause menu. Oh, it's time for the Hamometer. Boo-doo-doo, let's see what we get. Boop, 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 Boo. 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 Not to be. I guess because we never followed anything. Game over. You start your stats this adventure. Choices made. We made 8 choices. We were 1 time. We were not 0 times. You created a better story than Shakespeare. Why don't you use your limitless power to go on an all-new adventure? Oh, well. Well, there we go. We beat the game. It's not really, it's more of a point and click. I might do this again, because it's a quick little story thing. I want to try one where it's actually Hamlet. I mean, this was a nice little love story. And you know what? And there was a female lead and everything. It was awesome. It was a great story. Not much drama happening, really. The only drama, really, is figuring out the alcohol thermometer. But that we'll do that for another day. Maybe we might do just do Hamlet's story and see how they write it. But this has been To Be or Not to Be, a clickable choose your own adventure based on Hamlet. I will see everyone later. Goodbye.